Hello, I am Blaze, and welcome back to Warframe, for all of us. Today, I would like to talk about the somewhat new machine pistol that made its way into our hands recently, though we have known about it for a few months, the Azima. The Azima is acquired by logging in for a total of 100 days with the new login reward system. This count is cumulative, so you don't cost yourself any more than one missed day if you can't log in on any given day, and you will get it eventually. There is no other way to acquire the Azima, so it is exclusive to the login reward system. However, as a bonus, it comes along with its own weapon slot and a pre-installed catalyst, all for the low price of absolutely nothing. The Azima's stats are also somewhat interesting to look at besides its acquisition method. Starting off, it has a base damage of 20 per shot, split between 2.0 impact, 5.0 puncture, and 13.1 slash damage. This is actually high for a machine pistol, tied with the Twin Grakatas, though note that the Twin Grakatas actually fire 2 bullets per shot, and only losing out to the different Sestra variants. This damage is fed by a 10 rounds per second fire rate, and a 75 round clipazine capacity. I'm actually not sure if this round disc thing is technically a clip or a magazine. That aside, it does come along with a boosted 525 reserve ammo pool like a number of our newer fully automatic secondaries, which is good because this burns ammo with the best of them. Its other statistics are fairly average, with a reasonable 1.4 second reload time, a 15.4 accuracy rating, a 10% status chance, 10% critical chance, and a 2.0 times critical damage multiplier. The Azima also comes along pre-polarized with one V slot and one dash slot, which is very useful for most of the mods you'll want to put on these, which is quite nice. As seems to be a trend lately, however, arsenal stats don't cover the Azima's secondary fire. The secondary fire is the Azima's main selling point, so to speak, given how unique it is. Hitting your alt-fire button will launch the clipazine, yes, I'm going to be calling it that for the rest of the video, out from the gun. It doesn't have much velocity, so it will arc downwards quite heavily and will tend to bounce a couple of times before it finally settles and activates. At this point, it will spin and start slowly floating upwards into the air, firing the remaining bullets it had when it was launched as it does so. These bullets do the same damage as if they were shot from the primary fire, and it will cover a plane at the disc's height. As it uses the bullets that were in the clipazine at the time it was activated, its ammunition and fire rate will both dictate how long it remains, and it will explode when it runs out of ammunition. According to the wiki, this is supposed to deal 75 blast damage, but I can't seem to get this to happen at all. So either the blast radius is ludicrously tiny, or it doesn't actually deal damage upon exploding, which may be a bug. The Azima's secondary fire is more of a gimmick than anything else. Unless you launch it into the middle of a crowd, it's pretty stunningly inefficient given that as its distance from targets increases, it will spend less time shooting at your enemies and more times carving a slow helix pattern into the surrounding architecture. But it is a pretty interesting idea, and it does make for an interesting way to clear a room at low to mid levels, given that it's actually shooting bullets that go until it hits something as opposed to having an actual blast radius. You can also fire the clipazine out as long as there is still at least one bullet in it, so if you only just feel like using it as a stylish way to reload, then go ahead. Though of course, using it with only one round left will mean that it doesn't last for very long at all. The secondary fire is also affected by multi-shot, which you can observe by using the Magnum Force mod to force the discs to spread apart. One important thing to note, however, is that bullets fired from the deployed clipazine have a 0% critical hit chance. As such, they will never crit. This is slightly disappointing and doesn't seem entirely necessary, but that is the hand we've been dealt. Thankfully, its main primary fire is actually itself perfectly reasonable thanks to its moderate accuracy and quite high base damage. Along with this, due to its high bias for slash damage, the Azima is one of those subset of weapons like the Tigris and the Comac that has a very big tendency to dismember enemies after they're dead. Aside from granting some level of visceral satisfaction from seeing your enemies rent asunder, it has a couple of actual gameplay benefits. If you or your squad has a Necros, each separated body part counts as its own individual desecrate target, meaning you get more returns on each kill if you hack them apart post-mortem before your Necros breaks their finger on the desecrate button. However, even without Necros, the dismemberment causes your line of fire to clear up much faster as well, instead of having to wait for an enemy to completely fall over or finish their death animation. allowing you to pump more damage into the still active threats behind the gruesome obstruction without having to dedicate a slot to punch through. Given that pistols do not have the equivalent of Shred or Seeking Fury that includes punch through bundled in with some other beneficial effect, and the standard punch through mods are rarely worth it above some other option, this is definitely behaviour that I noticed to be very useful. When it comes to modding the Azima, between the moderate critical and status chances and the fact that the secondary fire isn't able to crit, my recommendation is going to be to stick with an elemental build for the most part. I will specifically recommend pistol ammo mutation, or even the primed variant if you want, due to the fact that the Azima does use up ammunition very quickly. For other options, given how the secondary fire works, you can also choose to build for that by increasing the magazine capacity to have each deployed clipazine do its thing for longer. This isn't really something I go with, but it could have some niche applications. For example, you could deploy a disc built for longevity and some status chance to cover an area with radiation status effects and get enemies to fight amongst themselves. However, doing that would hurt its general usability, so I'd say if you do that, make sure your primary and melee weapons are up to the task of picking up the slack. So in a nutshell, the Azima is a pretty interesting curiosity for the completionists, and it does a reasonable job of doing actual damage. There is also something oddly satisfying about the sound of the Azima firing. Maybe it's because it reminds me of the Call of Duty hit indicator sounds. But all in all, the Azima is definitely fun to run around with, so if you do enjoy machine pistols, then this is something you may want to look forward to getting your hands on if you don't have it already. Thank you for watching my overview of the Azima. All comments are appreciated, and I hope to see you around next time. For more content, feel free to give a click down below to see my thoughts on the Prisma Gorgon or the Destreza. And as always, good luck, have fun, and take care.